Yes, people, what's going on? It's happened again. Manchester United have lost another Premier League game of football. This time, Tottenham 1, Manchester United nil. And listen to this. Manchester United are 15th in the Premier League. We're 15th in the Premier League table. It's middle of February. After 2 games, 3 games, sometimes strange things happen. And we've seen a lot of strange things here at this club in the last 13 years since Sir Alex Ferguson left. A lot of strange things. But Manchester United being 15th in the Premier League table, this has got to be the worst I've ever seen at Manchester United. This is definitely the worst in a Premier League era for Manchester United. And it doesn't look like getting any better anytime soon. We've had the news this week of a mass amount of injuries to Manchester United's midfield. One, Maino, Ugarte, Collier, all out. And when you look at the midfield that Manchester United put out there today, and Casemiro playing like a player, you know, those sights of him bossing the midfield for Real Madrid feel like a lifetime ago. You know, he had a brief period for Manchester United when we initially signed him where he was pretty good. And look, he's a player that deserves the utmost respect. You know, he's achieved it all in the game. But at the same time, it's done. And he's in Manchester United's midfield today because of those whole host of injuries. And then, you know, we see a team that is so profligate like Manchester United failing to score, failing to hit the target, failing to, you know, make the right pass at the right time in the final third. And a player that has done that more often than not for us, Amad Diallo, he's out until the end of the season. The bench today, it resembled an under-23s bench, you know, and there's some big talent on that bench, but you don't want to be forcing them all at once. And that's why I don't think we saw many of them. We didn't see any of them apart from Chido Obi coming onto the pitch with 3 minutes remaining. Now, I'm not going to lie, personally, I'm disappointed. I would have liked to have seen a few of them tried out. We were losing the game. And I do think what the manager has said, he's come out and said, look, we were chasing the game towards the end and I didn't think there was much wrong. And I kind of get where he's coming from in terms of, I'm paraphrasing what he said as well. But he kind of alluded to the fact that it looked like we were going for it. And we did perform better in the second half. But still, I wouldn't have minded seeing Chido Obi come on a little bit earlier. Maybe a Sekou Kone come on. Especially when you look at the fact that, you know, with all the injuries we've got in midfield, Casemiro, it being beyond him, Eriksen, you know, he's not getting any younger. Like, it would have been nice to see us try someone out in there. You got the Fletcher lad, Morehouse, etc. It's a shame we never seen it, but I also understand it. You know, you're chucking him in, United are 15th, things are going horribly wrong. It's a difficult place for a youngster to be, but we've seen players spring on and be successes after injuries to key players. You know, Will Keane and Martial get injured. Rashford makes his debut. And the rest is, you know, history. Goes on to score 100 plus goals for the club. And I know it's weird to say that right now when he's just left to join Aston Villa. But nevertheless, he proved to be a huge option for Manchester United and went on to be a very good player. So there's always that opportunity when you give young players a chance. So it's a bit disappointing that we didn't get to see more of them. But I understand where the manager's coming from in that respect. Now, the performance today, you know, you looked at their lineup and it wasn't as bad as feared, because you obviously see Casemiro and Bruno in the midfield that resembles a decent midfield on paper, but in reality, like we've just mentioned about Casemiro, the backline, Mazraoui, De Ligt and Maguire. Now, there was a moment where Maguire struggled to turn in the box and it looked like it would present Spurs a chance. But apart from that, I don't think he was particularly bad and I think he did okay. Same with Matic De Ligt. I think Mazraoui has had one of his worst, well, not worst games. He wasn't, like, he didn't stink the place out, but he wasn't good today, Mazraoui. And he's been a lot better. There was a time where he was on course to be our player of the year. Amad Diallo's probably that, but Mazraoui isn't far behind him. So it's not a criticism of him, but he's performed better than he had done today. I thought Dorgu looked bright at times. Yes, there was a few instances where maybe he could have done a little bit better, but he looks bright. Looks like he knows what to do. And we had Delo out there as well. In the midfield, like I said, not good enough at all. Bruno tries and I'm never going to get on Bruno's back because he tries to make things happen at all times and he's someone that will take responsibility, get on the ball and try and make things happen. But, you know, the midfield, we'd rather see Bruno a little bit higher up the pitch. And the front three is where I think he just didn't. On another day, look, Garnacho should be scoring that opportunity he had in the first half. And again, I'm someone that didn't want United to sell Garnacho. I like Garnacho. He's a young player. I think he'll get better. He'll improve. And he's already done some very good things. He's been poor this season. You know, he's had a little bit of a rejuvenation period recently where he's looked a little bit brighter. But today he got in some really good positions and he didn't capitalise on them. That should be a goal, 1-1. And then he should have and could have set up the winner. What would have been a winner for Højlund. Højlund's free in the middle of the box screaming for the ball. The ball doesn't come. Well, it did come, but it was behind him. Just not good enough again. And we haven't really got many options. We let Anthony go. Funny thing, he's just scored a volley for Betis, which is, I've never seen him do something like that for Man United. And it's good. I want to see Anthony go and do well, help us get recoup some of the funds that we lost on his transfer. But we've let Rashford go. We let Anthony go. We've let players go in those forward positions, and we haven't covered for them. Now, that's not the manager's fault, because I think, look, Anthony had to go. We had to get rid of him. He's not good enough. We need a replacement. Same with Rashford. I think that transfer had to happen. Now, I do think Rashford can be good enough. I do think Rashford's a fantastic player. But unfortunately, over the last 12 months or whatever, maybe a little bit longer, he hasn't been performing to his ability. And I think the move was right for both parties in that instance. I think it's the best thing for Rashford as well. But you're looking at that, we've lost options up top. We've lost Ahmad. And you're looking up there thinking, where are the goals going to come from? Because Garnacho's lacking confidence. Højlund's clearly, some might say, lacking ability. Now, with Højlund, I'm a little bit split on it. Again, like, I thought he was incredible in his first season, gets 16 goals. United are really poor generally. We're not creating chances, and he does really well. But this season, he's stanked the place out now. I think we've been poor. We've not been creating enough chances. But as a striker, you can do more sometimes. You know, you can make a bad pass look a good pass. You can get across your defenders to the front post or the back post when crosses are coming in. And I think he doesn't do the basics enough. Now, again, today, there's an opportunity. Garnacho squares to him, he scores. And maybe we're talking differently about his performance, but it just doesn't impact the game enough for me. And Xerxes, on the other hand, like, I thought he was excellent today, but he's never going to get you goals. He's never going to be a man that gets you 20, 24. He needs to be facilitated. And unfortunately, he's too far from the pitch to be able to, when he does pick up the ball sometimes, to be able to facilitate the players that we have. So you just think some pace either side of him. Marcus Rashford, I know. And he'd look at a player in there in that system. But yeah, I do think there's something there with Xerxes. And if you force me to say, if you had to let one striker go, who would you let go? I'd say Højlund. But then, on the other hand, I do think Højlund, whether that's at Man United or not, I think he will. He's a young player, man. He's learning his craft. A lot of strikers that are banging now, when they were his age, they weren't doing anything. And that's not to say he'll definitely go, but I think that there's raw materials there, but that's all he is at the moment, unfortunately. And United, we need goals. And look, the league season's over, but you can't just be losing every single game. You can't just, because then what kind of form is that going to bring you to go into those cup games, which are massively important for United? The FA Cup, you can get into the Europa League. The Europa League, winning that, you can get into the Champions League. You've seen the finances in the Champions League. You've seen the financial predicament Manchester United are in. Suddenly, you can have a little bit more planning and a little bit more forward thinking and a little bit money to spend if you have Champions League football, because obviously the Glazers aren't going to put their hands into their pocket. So, can't believe we're 15th, man. What is going on? I've just kind of become numb to it all at the moment. And I do just feel like just end the season now. But those cup competitions are important, and I've never been the biggest fan of the Europa League, but there's that Champions League carrot there, and with the injuries that we had and the form that we're showing, Spurs are a team we could come up against into this competition. Shame we never seen some more of the youngsters. And look, I've seen some people running around going, "Oh, Amorim could be gone by the." I think if the board were to sack Amorim before the end of, or by the end of the season, I think it would say more about them than it does about him. All these people, yeah, they talk about having patience, having a plan, changing the culture, sticking to it, allowing a new manager to come in and get his philosophy and his tactics across and all those kind of things. And look, managers can be the wrong choices. Of course they can. But everyone seems to speak about these ideals, but they never actually have the patience for it. Now, I know you shouldn't be losing every game of football, but today I thought we should have won, to be totally honest with you, given the chances we had. And I just think sometimes you have to show a little bit more patience. This manager's dealing with a really bad situation. He would ideally himself would rather have came in at the end of the season. But I'm actually kind of glad that he's coming now, because you look at the things around us at the moment and you think, imagine he came in the summer And some of these players pull the wool over his eyes in pre-season. We're all out there in America, it's all hot and sunny, and we're playing. And some players start fooling him, and then we get into the new season, and it's back to square one again. He's finding out about these players now, and we can hopefully be in a position, which again questionable, to address that in the summer. But I don't think the manager has the manager made mistakes. Yes, could he adapt a little bit more? Maybe, but he has to stick by his guns. He has to be himself. He has to be true to himself. Everything, and again, I know this is talk is cheap, but everything he seems to say is spot on. And I want him to be able to go in there, be himself, address the culture of the club, try and change things for the positive. Just panicking as soon as shit hits the fan a little bit. Like, there's going to be a little bit of pain before you can progress. Is he the right man? The jury's still out. But I'm all for giving this man time. You fucking have to. And I think people speaking otherwise, I think it's a little bit mental, to be honest. It's like, it's disappointing to see Gary Neville kind of rooting for Ange Postecoglou, and in the same breath kind of digging out Amorim. And again, look, can criticise him, you can say where you maybe need to improve, but come on, man, there's bigger issues at this club than the manager. And this manager, if we're going to bring him in, we need to give him time to hopefully work his magic. Who knows? Anyway, let us know your thoughts in the comments. I'm out of here.